Welcome to Beyond the Now. I'm Liam Millward, founder and CEO of Instant, and this podcast is all about sitting down with people who are shaping the future. These are leaders who have built, scaled, and redefined what great brands can be. Today, I'm joined by someone who needs very little introduction in Australian retail, Jere Calmes, who is the CEO of The Iconic. In 2024, the company reported over $800 million of annualized revenue, with over 15% of Australian households purchasing with them. The Iconic didn't just build a great e-commerce platform. They set the standard for what fast, seamless, customer-first shopping should really feel like. From industry-leading delivery times to innovation in loyalty and technology, their impact has shaped how millions of Australians shop online. In this conversation, we go deeper than the headlines. We talk about the person behind the CEO title, the moments that have shaped their leadership, the bold decisions driving growth, how they're using technology to stay ahead, and what it really takes to lead at scale. Let's get into it. Incredibly excited to have Jere, the CEO of The Iconic, today on the podcast. I actually met Jere randomly through a cold LinkedIn message, probably a year ago now. More than a year ago. And we caught up in Barangaroo it was meant to be a half an hour coffee that I think ended up being an hour and a half. And we spoke everything about e-com. Your daughter was moving to New York and I was traveling over there. And we've just gotten to know each other over the last year and a half. Then we went to a Blackbird dinner and I introduced you to a bunch of other founders, Annabelle, who's actually on the podcast after this, from Clutch Glue. And it's kind of all been since then. And we've met Adam from your team at so many events, yourself. But so many people have no idea about the people actually behind The Iconic. And funnily enough, you just mentioned this is the first podcast you're on. So right. A privilege. And Iconic is obviously a household name here in Australia now. I think my girlfriend gets a parcel every second day from The Iconic, and so many other people do as well. But I think it's just the case. So many people don't know the people behind it. So very excited to have you on, Jere. Maybe give a bit of a picture on who you are and who is the CEO behind The Iconic today.
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me. As I said, this is a virgin experience for me, but I do like to listen to podcasts, so I'm enjoying this already. So as you can tell from my accent, I'm not from here. I'm American. I've basically was born and raised in the U.S. in a small town in the western part of the U.S. called Park City, Utah. But the majority of my career has been done over 30 years abroad. And became the CEO of The Iconic in 2023, July of 23, just off the boat 2 years ago, if you will. And I've been in multiple industries, from telco to retail and e-com for about the last 8 years. And I'd love to talk to you all about The Iconic and the people behind it. So I'm looking forward to this.
And before moving to Australia, you were overseas, right? Basically working in a very similar industry and even under the same umbrella of brands that you work with today.
Yeah. So a big chunk of my background is associated with Russia. So I moved over there very early on in my career. But prior to The Iconic, I was the CEO of a sister company called Lamoda. And Lamoda was pretty much The Iconic over Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, and Belarus. And that company was about €1.2 billion, and built in the same way of The Iconic, kind of a bit of a copycat founder for some of the internet companies that were born at the beginning of the 2000s, as The Iconic was, so was Lamoda. And these are just great companies with great foundations. So I took over as CEO of that company right before COVID. And that basically that company did very well. Obviously, COVID was a big accelerator to e-com in those years. Post-COVID, we did very well, and then unfortunately, the geopolitical situation changed there. So our company, we had to sell the company, basically because of the war. And I went with the sale of the company. But when the CEO position here and The Iconic opened up, I jumped at it, so to speak.
It's something I always ask in, we're interviewing people all the time. My favorite question in a job interview with someone is, why do this job? Why, there's a million directions you could go in your career. There's a million places that you could work. Why choose to come and work at the Iconic? Why join the Iconic in 2023? Every company, it would be a privilege for you to join the team.
But
why the Iconic? What did you see in the company?
It's a great question. It's a heavy question. In general, I think people that join any company, you kind of have to have it align with what you want to do. So does the company have some sort of a purpose? Does it fit something that's inside of you? In my case, it was a real difficult decision to leave Russia. My wife is Russian, and she didn't want to go. At the same time, I couldn't stay there as an American. And when this opportunity came up, it was almost a no-brainer because from the outside in, watching the Iconic develop as a CEO of a sister company, I was very jealous of the company. They were so credible on the fashion front, where in Russia we were a bit more tech focused than what the Iconic came off as. The Iconic launched a very interesting circular product, if you will, back in 2022, maybe a little bit earlier, called Aerobe. And from abroad, I'm looking at, okay, the Iconic is really getting into circularity. The fashion industry is not the best industry when it comes to ecology and what we've done. And here's the Iconic actually doing something about it. I was like, that is really cool. So in a way, I had this jealousy from the outside looking in. The idea of moving to Australia, where the winters are a bit warmer than the winters in Moscow, even though I'm a mountain person, 100% love skiing, but the idea actually appealed to me. And then once I got down here and started, it just kind of sealed everything. The people are incredibly passionate about what they do. We're a love brand. I think when I met people on the streets and they'd say, "So what do you do?" and I say, "I work at the Iconic," they'd go, "Oh wow, that's such a great company." So there's just all of that. It's absolutely a privilege to be one of the CEOs that have been able to lead this company.
I think it's pretty incredible that people generally look at an e-commerce brand, either they've had an amazing experience or they've had a very negative experience. And a lot of people never really build credibility or loyalty to a particular brand or a particular website, or in the Iconic's case now, an app. Whether it's a really small brand with one product or a website with thousands of SKUs. It's so rare to find a shopper that goes back to the same website all the time. Whereas in Australia, I feel like the Iconic is just rapidly and increases day on day the loyalty for the Iconic. People just consistently go back again and again and again, and it's a positive experience every time. It's very rare, if ever. I don't think I've ever heard a negative experience that a shopper has had with the Iconic. But I guess there would have been, looking at the outset, it's a very exciting opportunity. A lot of the foundations had been laid. The brand was growing incredibly rapidly. It was a household name in Australia. But when you first joined 3 years ago now, what surprised you most that maybe wasn't on the surface that you originally thought?
Well, it's wonderful to hear all those wonderful things said about our company, and we do really focus on the fact that a lot of e-com companies make the mistake of being transaction focused. So it's all about the NMV, which is net merchandise value. How do you grow it? And when you get focused on that, you lose the essence of what the company's really about, or the brand is really about. And actually, when I came in 2023, the Iconic wasn't doing so well. It had fallen a little bit towards that transactional aspect. A lot of companies did. It was COVID brought the growth trajectory of e-com up 3 years in the course of a year, maybe even 4 years. So in the case of fashion, it was like 26% of all fashion was purchased online in 2022. By 2023, it dropped down to 20%. everybody went back to the stores. But a lot of the e-com players still had those growth trajectories in their business plans, including the Iconic. So
Was that something you quickly got onto?
I think it was understood before I got here that was something we had to deal with. But there's a lot of problems that result from doing that. So yeah, I mean, when I came in, it had already started to come off a bit. We were losing customers. We had been too focused on just the kind of the transactory nature of it. Don't blame anybody other than I'd say the shareholders for pushing at that stage and maybe not having the alignment. But that was the hardest thing to deal with that we found. But given the foundations of what the Iconic is, and this brand that was born of actually liberation and fast delivery and all these great USPs that weren't in the market when the Iconic landed was still there in the DNA of the company. So it was pretty quick to go back to it and say, okay, how do we keep and reignite what the Iconic's really about, and what my predecessors have done before me, and they've done a great job building the foundation. So I had a lot to work with, and still have a lot to work with.
And the brand is just back on track and absolutely flying today. The biggest thing and the reason why I wanted to have you on was, and before we dive into more about the Iconic, is actually people knowing you. That you're leading the Iconic now, an incredible brand, as we've already said. And you mentioned you're a big skier. You're a big skier. It'd be hard to get to the slopes, I imagine.
No, it's only 3 hours to Queenstown.
True.
I was surprised.
People forget, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
What do you think the slopes give you versus that business doesn't?
Actually, I think it goes hand in hand with me. In my case, I was a very avid skier growing up. So I got up every morning at 5:30, 6, went to dryland training to get ready, went to school for 3-4 hours, went to the ski hill, practiced all afternoon, trained, went back to school at night, raced on weekends and mostly through the winter, so missed a lot of school, traveled with tutors. So my whole life was, it was all about I want to be on the Olympic team. I want to win a gold medal. And it took me quite a ways. It made me a very competitive person, and as sport does for a lot of people, it made me pretty disciplined in that respect.
Maybe living in Sydney now, outside of work, what kind of gives you the energy, the motivation, the drive?
Well, I'm older now. It's longevity. I just try to stay healthy, and I do a lot of walks along the beach.
I see you walking in Bondi sometimes.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Why don't you say hi? I haven't seen you there.
Always driving past.
I see. So we'll stop the car, say hello. But anyway, so to go back to your question in terms of business, that skiing was kind of a precursor to everything. I had an accident and ultimately quit skiing. Quit racing. I never quit skiing. I never will. In fact, my goal is to ski at 100 years old. I don't want to just live to 100. I want to be skiing at 100. But once I backed out of that really competitive environment, I guess I was looking for something else to fill the void. And in my case, Russia was the answer, and business. So I'd studied Russian to basically to have another language, because most Americans don't speak a second language, and I took a trip over there as a junior, and was just in awe at what was going to happen in Russia. You had Gorbachev, Perestroika, all this stuff, and went over and I just saw opportunity everywhere. I mean, it was the Soviet Union was turning into a market economy. And so when I went back, got my degree. I got on a plane and went over to Russia to find something to do, and that was kind of my new adrenaline. And we were very fortunate. So I actually ended up starting a company. I was the first employee of a company that ultimately became the first company to go public on the New York Stock Exchange, called Vimpelcom, with the ticker VIP.
There you go.
Yeah, it was
amazing.
Cool.
What did the company do?
So the company was a cell phone company. Originally, we went over to do basic conversion. There was a time post-Soviet Union where they wanted to take all the technology and military technology and convert it into something for commercial use. So we copied with a company called Wimpel, and this company was a kind of a space exploration and radio technical institute. It could pick out a bolt in the middle of space and figure out what to do with that. So we were going to build cellular switches with them. So the entrepreneur, who was a couple years older than me at the time, so kind of like you. I was 22 probably, and he was 25, but he had a much more entrepreneurial upbringing. So we were figuring out how to manufacture the switches and getting them out into the smaller towns so you could leapfrog the whole landline build out of the Soviet Union, just go straight to cellular. And it turned out we put up a cell tower on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs building, which was kind of a partner of our venture at the beginning, because you had to have kind of some state help. And the next day we had kind of these very hefty looking men in leather jackets, no neck, pretty big, kind of choose. I don't know what they actually did, but they somehow found where our office was, and they came in with dollars saying, "I need let me have one of the cell phones. I'll give you $5,000."
Well, they wanted to pay.
They wanted to buy. They wanted cell phone. It was like, there was nothing in this country, and so, that business plan changed overnight, and we started. We went and got a temporary license to prove that you could run this standard. It was an American standard in the frequencies that we had, and overnight we had 100 customers that are spending $5,000 to sign up. And you think of cell phones today, it was like nothing of the sort. It just it took off. So that company took off, and it was a very interesting beginning. Yeah,
for sure. What do you think's the difference between? So you've done the founder side of things. Now you're doing the CEO side of things. Is that I've never done both, where I didn't start a company and then became the CEO, or vice versa.
So I never
difference?
became the CEO of that company.
Okay.
And I don't consider myself a founder like you. In fact, I do think there's differences. I do consider what I did rather entrepreneurial, and I took a big risk. I think most people were leaving Russia when I flew in, and if you talk to Russians, they're like, you're crazy. And I guess today they were right, but that's 25 years later. Actually, it's much 30 years later. But I think the big difference is, in my case, that entrepreneurial element. I'm good at scaling things. I'm good at the operational side. I like the organizational stuff. I like mid-sized companies and growing them to big companies. I've never had the idea to just break out on my own. That's just not maybe where I'm comfortable. I'm really comfortable in a different role. So, I think you have skills from founders, and you have skills from, let's say, polished CEOs. I don't consider myself polished. I don't consider myself a founder. I'm something in between, and I've just found a really a spot that I love.
And that's the iconic, right? You came in and it was already pretty large, but had. And this was the very first thing I remember when we met for the first time. You said, I just see such an opportunity to take this thing way further than it is today.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's been the last 3 years like? Where are you at today?
Well, I still see the opportunity, and I think where we are today is in a much better position than 2 years ago.
Why?
Two main reasons. One, we got back to our DNA, and are really the only choice for online e-com at scale, with the authority to be a fashion and lifestyle player. That's our position. We live by it. We're focused on it, and that itself really helps to drive the company forward. The second thing, and as boring as it may sound, it's incredibly important. The financial strength is improved significantly, and I just think that having those two things, when I look at the structure of the market, I mentioned that we went from 26% at the height of COVID down to 20% of all fashion being sold online. We're back to 23, and hurling towards 25, 26 within the next year or two. And those are the conservative estimates. So I think structurally, you have people that want to, it's never been about either the traditional store and brick and mortar or online. It's always been about where the customer is. And we've just chosen to do the online portion the best. We want to do it better than anybody else. And leverage that with the entire industry. So we don't consider ourselves a retailer. We do retail. We do a lot of retail. It's actually the majority of our business. But we also do a lot of services for our industry, and we're starting to help direct-to-consumer brands grow. We're key elements of strategies for the bigger brands, and I think that it's really clear what our position is.
I'd say that's probably one of the most exciting parts of the DNA, as you say, of the Iconic, where you're not just providing an incredible experience for these shoppers landing on the app or the website, it's also the brands behind it. And I actually didn't realize until recently just how much brands truly rely on the Iconic today, particularly during sales periods or just day-to-day sales to significantly grow their business. Ordinarily, they'd spend so much cash on meta ads, try to build their own brand, influencers, etc. And they still have to do that today. But in the interim of building an incredible brand, they're able to leverage the Iconic to grow basically overnight.
That'd be great.
Right?
Sometimes,
It gives them the platform and I think the credibility around their product when they're listed on the Iconic. And I think that's a super motivating part, about growing such an incredible platform that you have today. One of the things that I think is very different to the Iconic compared to so many other players in the market is like this product mindset that you bring to the Iconic. I think it's maybe an underrated needle mover in many ways that has significantly grown the business. And I guess it's a hard thing to put a finger on. What does that really mean? Or what have we done from a product perspective that's truly driven the business? Because I guess there's so many things under that umbrella. But from your perspective, I think it truly is something that sets the Iconic apart and something that's probably under your leadership that has really driven the business forward. What does that product mindset kind of mean at the Iconic?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think actually a product mindset is probably the most misunderstood element of more recent business models. I actually learned more about a product-led company from Lamoda. So at Lamoda, I stepped into a company where the average age was 26 years old. I was literally the grandpa coming in to run it, and they were all, we're going to grow. Amazon never made a profit. We're going to grow. We don't need to make profits. And I kind of came in with a little bit more of a traditional matter, but nobody cared. Like the fact that I was a CEO, I had to start from the bottom rung, and I had to prove my worth, my value in this company. And it was a wonderful experience, a little bit difficult, but a wonderful experience. And what I actually learned was what a product company is about. So I think every company has to be a product-led company going forward. We used to hear these things like a digital transformation. That used to be the mantra. Oh, we have a strategy for digital transformation.
Yeah.
Probably soon we'll hear a lot about AI transformation. But a product-led company is literally just that. It's basically saying the customer is always at the center of your business. The customer always has some sort of problem that needs to be resolved. There's data points that will prove that problem is this, your hypotheses on how to solve it or something is there. And then you use technology to improve the processes, to optimize, or you just, you focus that way. If you're doing those things, that is a product-led approach. And so, you can be an expert in your field. So in our case, we have experts in fashion lifestyle. Really, we do have a lot of authority in that area. But to really turn it on its head and be differentiated in the marketplace, you need this product-led focus. And that just basically means, what are the customers dealing with? And how do we solve it? And if you go back to the beginning of the Iconic that I wasn't around for, that's exactly what happened. It's like it took 2 weeks to get anything to your house, and the Iconic said, "Well, that's just not good enough." How do
Well, that was one of the biggest things, right? I remember again when we first met, you were so excited about the new Australia Post parcel lockers. You just couldn't stop talking about the new parcel lockers. But that was like as simple as it sounds. That was again one of the significant things that just shot the Iconic forward was this quick, fast shipping returns.
Well, I mean that was a fun. Listen, we're in e-commerce, and e-commerce. We're in physical e-commerce. There's two types of e-commerce. There's a non-physical e-commerce, which is much easier. If you're selling tickets online to a concert, it's all about the audience. It's all about getting people to buy, come back, trust, transact. But you don't have to actually get the ticket in a postal code and sent out and be there in a certain amount of time. You know, it goes out on your app, or email or QR code, whatever it may be. So in that physical e-commerce, one of the biggest differentiators, and this is what I think, this is what so many companies fail to see, is that delivery aspect, and in our case, in fashion, the returns aspect, because it's a complex product, is unbelievably crucial to the value proposition. So you can't forget about it. It matters, and we have some really big competitors that are coming to the market. You've got Amazon here; they've invested billions, and
But one of the biggest reasons why Amazon is successful is for shipping.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Their focus will be to bring times down, and we're already seeing it. I mean, it's hygienic now to have, if you're not next day for free in many metropolises, then what's the point? So we started working on that in a much more focused way. We actually are. This year, beginning of this year, we launched next day to Melbourne. Basically, all packages are to Melbourne free of charge within 2 days. We actually have a better performance rate than Amazon at this stage.
Nice.
But I think it's just what will happen, especially with e-com, is that level of service is just coming up. It's like trying to order a cab today, on an app and not actually seeing it come to you. Like to make the phone call is just very archaic. So I think that's just happening right now, and it'll be a whole new level of playing field. And we've been very focused on making sure that we're there, if not leading it.
Shipping has, as I said, has been such a massive needle mover for the company, and it's probably the thing that shoppers particularly mention most around, oh my God, I've got this event tomorrow and I need this thing now. But there's also the no fear in being able to purchase multiple items because they know if something doesn't fit, they can send it back. And I feel so many e-commerce brands particularly don't figure out what the blockers are to people purchasing on their website. They just think throwing more money at the wall, building brand is the only thing.
That is not the way to do it.
And it's just not the way to do it.
That is not the way to do it, no.
They don't figure out what the complexities are along the way. But this product mindset is definitely a thing that I think is quite unique to the Iconic. And the Iconic almost runs in a tech company type of mindset in many ways.
We do run in a tech company.
You do?
Kind of, I consider...
Heavy investment.
Yes. In fact, the majority of our capital investment goes into our tech. Mm-hmm. That's what we did in 2023 to unlock a lot of capabilities. So some basically, you asked me earlier about what other things I found. I found a lot of tech debt in the Iconic. And I don't know if your viewers know what tech debt is, but basically when you try to solve things fast, you hack. You make hacks to provide something for your customer in the right way, not in the right way, in a way to test it. And so we did a lot of that because we love to test and make sure that we're doing something that impacts the customer. But if you don't scale it efficiently, then you have to deal with that debt, and it's just like bank debt. The interest becomes crippling. So we called 2024 our reset year, and we really focused a lot on that and cleaning up our tech debt and getting everybody really into this product mindset where the product isn't about the tech department. Product is owned by everybody because it's about the customer. So just really focusing on that has put the company in a very strong position to go forward. And it's a really interesting market because Australians love fashion, they love lifestyle, they work out, they get up at 5 o'clock. At least they do in Bondi. When I get down there, I get down there at 6:30. I'm late, right? It's like I'm done with their workouts. So it's a really fun environment in which to play around with that. Really is cool.
And outside shipping, you're also working on a pretty new, exciting thing that I think is going to be the next kind of shipping needle mover, which is loyalty.
Oh, yeah. How did you hear that? You're doing your research.
I'm across it. And I mean, so many people return to the iconic.
Because that's quarantined information. We know
all
that.
the time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe what's news there?
Yeah. I mean, loyalty is incredibly exciting. I think there's a philosophical element to loyalty as well in business. I'm a believer that you build loyalty by having a really good company, a really good service proposition, and people will come back. And you said in your intro, okay, the Iconic has a lot of customers that come back. We'd like more to come back, and more frequently, but we've kind of built the whole process, the whole value proposition around just that. And I think what's happened, again, somewhat like delivery, loyalty has become a hygienic instrument that's required by retailers, and therefore we need to do so as well to make sure that our customers feel and see something tangible in addition to the benefits they get for being an Iconic customer. And so, yeah, we're very close. In fact, as we speak, we've got 150 employees testing, running path to production tests. We'll be launching our loyalty program in the fourth quarter. And what's interesting about this one is we did it with our customers. So we started back in 24. We took what we call an inner circle, and we went out to our customer base and said, okay, we want to invite you into the inner circle to give us really detailed feedback and deep level surveys, join focus groups, basically help us define where we need to go. And that inner circle. Within a few days, we had over 35,000 people that had signed up.
Wow!
Yeah, so now it's 50,000, and
quite the inner circle.
It's just such a significant. It's just such a significant tool to really have a more one-on-one discussion. I know it's 50,000 people, but a more one-on-one discussion with what your customers, why they love you, why they don't. I wish every delivery were perfect. They're not. We want to get there. So that's the stake in the ground. So with them, we basically defined what they want out of a loyalty program. And a lot of companies, they want something back, is very normal. I think you hear that all the time. So we've partnered with a fantastic company out of Germany called Talon One. I don't know if you know it, but we've implemented this platform and then our own designed app. So it'll be right smack in our app with the ability for customers to see their status level. They'll be able to earn icons on every single purchase that they make, and for doing activities that help generate more and more icons. And those behaviors we're trying to influence. And I think it'll be a really strong tool to help us continue building that loyalty that we've already seen in the Iconic, but actually maybe go after some more interesting behaviors where we can reduce the number of returns. I think it'd be really interesting to have customers understand that it's not necessary to order 5 different items. We can use our tech, we can use our history to try to limit that, and at the same time make it easier for them to shop.
Amongst the program launching and just the Iconic brand in general, how do you think about building loyalty that actually lasts? I think that so many brands have loyalty for, say, a short period of time, or, a lot of companies have subscriptions that people end up canceling. How does the Iconic think about loyalty for a significant period of time where it's just a no-brainer? People come back forever.
At the end of the day, if you can put any loyalty program you want onto any company you want, but if the company doesn't fulfill its promise, its brand promise, there's not going to be loyalty. So we look at loyalty the following way. We look at customers as the consumer that's looking for a better way to shop.
Yep.
A better way to shop will change over the years. It has already. So we need to constantly change with that and make sure that we're always providing our customers what they want. That's what builds loyalty. Having a loyalty program is very important, and it's what our customers have told us they want. Right, so we went and said, okay, fine. And what is it you want? They went, we want additional benefits for when we buy. We want the ability to spend those benefits easily. And so we designed a program that allows them to do just that. So I view it as a very important tool, and it's another way to communicate with customers without having a phone call. They're telling you what they want through their actions and their transactions, and we get to give them, in this case, something back and a nice reward.
One of the, I guess, the another real needle mover for the Iconic was moving from being very website driven to majority of people actually purchase through the app today, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think the world is an app first world already. In many of our markets where laptops and PCs were kind of expensive in some of the more emerging markets, and they were late to market. Everybody jumped immediately to app. So if you look at Russia, Ukraine,
could you share what percentage of people?
It was 90%. Yeah. No, it was 95. 90% was purchased on the app, or 95% if you had a mobile web. I mean, it's an app. It's an app business. What we see here is. You can do a lot on a PC, so you shouldn't disregard that channel. I think it's really important because a lot of customers are still there. But the app is always with you, and it's very convenient. So I always say that that little screen is the most expensive piece of real estate on the planet, because a customer is on it. They're reading their news, but they are exploring. They're discovering what they want to buy. They're talking to their AI chatbots now. It's with them when they're on the bus. It's with them when they're bored.
Do you see any trends around when people are purchasing most? Is it morning, night?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, we actually our peak hours are in the evening.
Yeah,
of course. You get a little bit of
a majority through the app now,
and that is funny because actually it has changed over the years. I don't know the actual numbers, but we talked. It used to be when people were in the office. It used to be when before apps, people they get the office, they get on their computers and would start to probably buy from the Iconic. No, it's majority app now. Very interesting is customers are engaged on our app. They're spending 10 minutes on average. On average, 10 minutes. That means you got some that are spending many, many more minutes than that on the app. And we don't consider that a bad thing. That's 3 times more than the average session on Instagram. And that's actually a good thing because we think people are interested. They're looking for discovery. It's part of a shopping journey. Just like 2 women will grab a Caesar salad and go to the store and shop together. That's an experience. So is an app, and so is
How do you drive people to download the app?
Many ways through all the mechanisms. One, we say it's better on the app,
and people believe you and download it. It is better. The experience is very clean.
It is. I mean, it's actually good everywhere. I think it comes down to also personal preference, but we just make sure that we do everything on the app first, so you always have it there. I mean, as I said, you want to pull something out of your pocket and see. You don't want to have to wait till you get home to look at your status level or how many points you've earned in the new loyalty program. You want to have it right there on your phone. So we do everything with the app first in mind because the majority of customers have kind of gone into that area, and then the regular I would say the regular activities to download that. There are a lot of call to actions to download apps from if they log into our mobile website, we say let's get it on the app and so forth. And we've run certain discounts only on the app, but I think that's more tactical rather than in the long run. I just think the mobile device, it was a process that all online has gone through, and the mobile is very, very important.
And I think a big part of winning in the mobile experience is this product mindset. But I want to come back to your point before around improving the financial position of the business. I think that at the end of the day, the business just doesn't survive if it's not financially healthy. And that was a big part of something that you focused on when you first came in.
Of course.
Which was post-COVID, pushing it back into a good position, good people, good focus as a company, and kind of bringing this focus back to the customer. Overarching it was this product mindset, but overarching that was actually building a healthy business with the healthy financial state of the business being top of mind. But I think so many people say, healthy finances, revenue, profit, etc. Profit. But from your perspective, what does that actually mean? What did you do? What were the hard changes that needed to take place?
Well, in a way, this is both the differences and the similarities between a founder and a manager. And that is, founders are always looking for money. Managers are trying to make sure you have money. So I don't know how far apart those two things really are.
Well, it's like the classic saying where, what is it? Set the vision, make sure you have the best people on the team, and make sure you don't run out of money. There are three things, and whether you're the founder or the CEO, they're the three things that always
that's the hard reality of business. The profit and loss statement, to me, it's just a report card at the end of the day. It's not the purpose. It's not why you do a business. But if it's not a healthy report card, there's something wrong. So if you're providing a valuable service, people are willing to pay for it. If you're providing that valuable service at more, it costs you more to provide that valuable service than somebody's paying, well, then it's not that valuable, is it? So profits taken in that perspective are just unbelievably important, and I still believe in that. And I know a lot of people have tried to say that that's just not the case, including a lot of employees of, let's say, of Lamoda. When I came in there, I was people would actually argue with me that we shouldn't earn a profit because we're a digital company, because we need to grow. Look at Amazon; it grew for 17 years without a profit. I love it. That's the biggest myth in the world, right? I mean, Amazon did grow for 17 years without a profit, but the first category they went into was books. And they owned books. They destroyed the entire sector, and they were very profitable in books. But then they took that profit and they invested in the next category they wanted to kill. Now, if you're building a business, it doesn't matter if it's brick and mortar or online, and you don't focus on actually a return that your investors have put money into, you're providing a service that the customers really don't want. So I think they go hand in hand when you talk about the financial strength. You want to have that strength because, one, it tells you you're actually providing a valuable service, and two, you have to look out for the fact that the world it doesn't work the way you plan for it to work. There's going to be shocks. There's going to be problems, and the companies that have the strongest balance sheets survive. So that's how we look at it.
When you're kind of looking at the day-to-day of the business, I feel like the data that you're consuming easily influences the direction that you go in many ways. If it's a good metric, let's keep investing in it. If it's bad, let's fix it. What does that routine look like from your part? How are you getting fed the right data? Obviously, the Iconic is a lot bigger than majority of e-commerce companies today, and so it's significantly different than a small dashboard where you're getting this information. But, I think there's very similar metrics that whether you're Iconic or you're a small e-commerce brand that remain the same. What is kind of top of mind on that part? And how do you think about profitability versus just looking at revenue?
So that's a great question. And actually, I've thought a lot about this because in my career, I've had the opportunity to run startups. And literally start. I mean, I used to actually I worked with a bit of an accelerator, and I had 20 smaller startups with with 5 people in them, and then I've been able to run multi-billion-dollar organizations. The surprising thing is that there's not that big of a difference when it comes to the metrics. I always look, first of all, I always look at customers. Always look, is your customer base growing? Are there customers coming back to your store, to your site, to whatever you are building? And if they are, that's the most important thing.
Do you think at the end of the day that's the most important thing, this return shopper?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it may sound really profound, but if customers aren't coming back, they're going somewhere else, or they've decided to do something else. Either you don't have the right
You're not
product,
winning.
or you're doing something wrong. Yeah. So that's.
Well, look at why SaaS companies or tech companies are so successful. It's because these people pay a monthly subscription. They're always coming back. That's how they win. That's how they survive. That's how they grow.
And if they don't, and if they cancel that subscription, what does it mean? It means
going to somewhere else.
Okay,
right?
exactly.
It's the same in e-com.
I fully agree. So I mean, I always start off with the customer, and it doesn't matter if you're a single entrepreneur running your own business, or if you're a CEO running a multi-billion-dollar company. It's the same indicator. Either your customers are growing. In fact, running in that accelerator time was so interesting for me, because I had come out of VimpelCom, this company that had gone public on the New York Stock Exchange, and we were one of the most valuable brands in Russia after Coca-Cola. I mean, our company was valued at $12 billion. Beeline is a household name in the country, and then I'm in this new startup that's kind of trying to copycat Airbnb, and the founder is the marketing director, is he had a tech guy helping with the product, but he was literally doing the performance marketing on his credit card, and he knew how well or how unwell his marketing spend was, because he had his lifeline on he was maxing out this credit card, maxing out the next credit card.
He was
trying to build his customer base, right? And it was so good, because that $1,000 spend that he was doing versus that $1 million or even $10 million spend you're doing has to give some sort of return. So I just adopted that in anything that I do in terms of those indicators. And listen, you always have to measure things. And at the Iconic, we're very lucky. We've got incredibly democratized data. Try to give access to absolutely everybody, so that people can see what's going on and actually measure things that we try and sometimes fail and try and sometimes succeed. And I think it's absolutely key.
For your most important objectives across the business, how do you kind of structure the team around making sure you're successful at the most important things? I think that so many challenges end up being from, not the correct org structure. So if a metric's really important, like returning shoppers, is someone or a team or someone responsible for that metric? Or is it set in a strategy? How do you think about actually making sure you achieve these things?
So it's
because again, it's like the startup mindset where when you're a really small company, you've got 5 people.
Yeah.
Those 5 people are really focused on the 5 most important things. Each person's kind of focused on one thing or the 3 most important things, and you're so focused.
So it's a good question, because as you scale, and I've seen this also with entrepreneurs, one of the hardest things for founders when they scaled was when they needed to put an organization in place. Because so much of the business surrounded her or him, and as you scale, you need to build teams, and those teams need to carry on the DNA. They need to they basically need to carry on the vision and purpose of the company. So at the Iconic, I'm incredibly fortunate, because I've got a very talented senior leadership team. So my team's 8 people. And they're one unit. They call themselves the first team. So they're responsible for every decision in the company, and they have joint responsibility for our customer growth, for our financial results. But having said that, each one of them plays a role. So my chief marketing officer is responsible for customer. My chief commercial officer is responsible for the assortment. And basically the top line and the gross profit. So it's very clear who has the accountability from the leadership team for certain elements of the business. But if they don't work together as one team, it's like having a team of Ronaldos and they don't pass it to each other. Right?
Sure.
What will happen? So I think that's crucial. It's really basically, as you scale, making sure you get the right people. Sorry for quoting Jim Collins there, but it's getting the right people on the bus, if you will, and then letting them decide where to go and taking away those barriers that might exist to do so.
And the point around people, I think the biggest point that was missed there was having incredible people but having an incredible leader as well, because from a motivational and an energetic and positive perspective, the last thing I really want to touch on is the advancements of AI. I know this has been a huge focus for the Iconic, and you've already made some pretty big changes, even to the simplest things like search within the app, when it comes to AI. How are you thinking about that from the customer's point of view rather than internally?
I think it's a very exciting time, and it's a very scary time at the all in one. For those that are reading all the horror stories of what AI can bring in this wave of technology, I was around for the internet revolution. In fact, that's kind of how I ended up in this role. Is the fact that some of these copycat business models that went globally created incredible foundations for me to come in and scale. Go from $500 million to 1-2 billion, whatever. When I look at AI, it definitely has the same profound impact that the internet revolution had on the world and the business and so forth. Maybe even more, maybe like fire. We don't know. We'll find out. So I look at it as an opportunity and something that needs to be embraced. One thing we did immediately was make sure everybody in the company had access to the different large language models. Basically, we put a skin around Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT. Basically, everybody in our company has access to AI. We have been very focused on training and teaching them like how to use things. So we run lunch and learns and actually, the biggest one, we have one today, is an AI showcase, and this allows people to showcase how they're using AI. Okay. Because the way I see it is, it's a technology, and people will adopt it and find use cases for it that make sense, that solve problems or make things easier. And so when they do that, you want to share it so other people can think about these things.
On the customer experience side, what do you think has been kind of
on the customer experience?
I mean, it's so cool now where you can previously, not too long ago, you would search in the search bar
I think
a style or something that you want to shop for, and it wouldn't really show you the results. Whereas now it's pretty on point.
It's very on point. It's a very powerful tool. I mean, what surprised me, I think what it'll do is actually start to surface a lot of technology that existed before but hasn't yet made a significant impact.
Sure.
So you think of Snap to Shop. Most people didn't even know that we've had that for years. If you're in a store and you like something, take a picture of it, see if it's on the Iconic. You can do that comparative shopping. That's been around for years. But as AI and multimodal search, which we've already integrated into our search, it starts to take an impact. Those things become more relevant. Because you can find more things and better matches. These large language models, they actually, I think speech to search or search using voice is just going to take off. I think people are going to get on their Series and their AI chatbots and say, oh, by the way, I've got a wedding this weekend in Bondi, and what should I wear?
Sure.
We need to somehow embed ourselves into that process as well. And it's not straightforward yet how and what's the best way, but that will be part of the future. So we're adopting it, and we're using the technology where we can to find efficiencies, make things quicker. When we do that, we can bring prices down. That's what customers also want. So that's what we're doing.
Nice. So looking back, it's been a pretty busy last 3 years. 2 years.
Two for me, but it's been a busy 13 years for the Iconic and a very successful 13 years for the Iconic.
It's obviously been an incredible, long period of time before you joined, and more recently, even after you joined, just seeing the business get back to getting the basics right and advancing at the things that they were already doing well at, and the new things, loyalty, shipping, etc. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm incredibly excited to see where the Iconic goes over the next, even just 2 years. You guys move in incredibly quickly, and I think it would be crazy to even imagine what the next 10 years looks like. I think the one thing that will remain pretty consistent is the obsession on the customer. And I think that I just think that it's wild to see the impact that the Iconic not only has on the incredible experience it offers for the customers, which you guys have nailed out through this product mindset wildly well, but truly the amount of I'm in so many conversations with brand owners and founders similar to you, and the frequency that the Iconic is brought up, not only on the dashboard and the metrics of their business and significantly how important it is for them, but all of the above, the shipping that it provides for their customers, the support, the speed, and just the growth opportunity that it provides for their business is wild. And I think that it's incredible that in Australia, such a significant player outside of Amazon is making leaps and bounds that I think the country should be incredibly proud of. And to think that it's only just at the start is wild to me. Is really, really wild.
It's not wild. I think it's just a very exciting time, and we've got incredible employees, we've got incredible partners, and I mean, I'm just looking at this, as I said, I just want to get that message further out there that we can do a lot together.
Thank you.
Thank you.